Starting it off in the $0 to $200 price range for the best 1440p gaming monitors in every price range is the INNOCN 27G1R, again in that $0 to $200 price range. And if at any point during the video you want to check out any of the monitors in this video, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. But let's talk about the INNOCN 27G1R. Now, as for the size, this comes in at 27 inches. It hits 144 Hertz and has FreeSync Premium and is compatible with G-Sync. So if you do have an NVIDIA card, you're gonna be okay. This works well with no screen tearing or anything like that. Now, as you could have guessed by the price point and, well, the specs this is giving you, being a 27-inch 1440p monitor under 200 bucks. This is a VA panel, so this is gonna give you a better contrast ratio than something like an IPS panel. However, ghosting here is really the only con because this is a VA panel. Now, ghosting is present, but not horrible in bright scenes. However, it gets very apparent in the darker scenes. Now, this is something you're gonna have to weigh for yourself against your price point. Think about the games that you play. If you are an FPS gamer, most of the time when you're outdoors, obviously this is a lower end monitor, you will have some apparent ghosting, but it's not unplayable. However, if you get in darker areas, maybe in something like caves or really dark warehouses, things like that, it gets very apparent and could even mess you up. However, if mostly what you do is play pretty games that you want a higher resolution, you want that high refresh rate, and you want 27 inches, but you don't want to break the bank, well, then it might not even be an issue for you at all. Now, even with the ghosting being present during FPS games, I was surprised at how enjoyable of a gaming experience you're able to get at this price point while still having a 27-inch 1440p panel. It's honestly a great option for anyone on a very, very tight budget, but still wants 1440p and 27 inches. Now, for brightness, I managed to hit 270 nits of brightness. This is a good brightness, especially in a dark room. If you get in a very bright room, well, you're probably going to be wanting to turn those lights down, put a curtain over those windows. But in a dark room, if mainly you game at night, no problems at all. But definitely is a little bit of a lower brightness, but the price point reflects that. Now, for colors, this covers 99% of the sRGB color space, which is great for SDR gaming. There is no wide color gamut, but there is no HDR here. So there's no HDR support, so not really a big deal. Now, if you do want a little bit more vibrancy in game, you can artificially turn the saturation up in the menu system, actually in the monitor, the OSD. Now, this is something I really did enjoy doing on this monitor in games like Fortnite that have very vibrant colors. Now, while this isn't going to be the most accurate representation of the game, sometimes it's fun to just have bright colors. Overall, far from the most beautiful panel on the list, but not bad at all considering the price point and maintaining 27 inches and 1440p, a great ultra budget choice. But with that, let's move on to the $200 to $300 range, which is the GIGABYTE M27Q. This is a standout monitor. So again here, you're getting 27 inches, 1440p obviously. This monitor bumps it up to 170 Hertz. This has FreeSync Premium and is also compatible with G-Syncs. And this again works well with no screen tearing, no issues like that at all. Now for the panel type now, it bumps it up to an IPS panel. Now, while you are getting a worse contrast ratio, the viewing angles, colors, and the overall gaming performance is, well, quite a bit upgraded here. Ghosting here is extremely low, having almost no noticeable smearing at all, and that's to my trained eye. To the untrained eye or the average gamer, you're basically not going to notice it at all. It's that good. Overall gaming experience is honestly pretty incredible for the price. A very, very pretty gaming experience that is honestly shocking at this price. Not only are you getting the resolution here for a low price point, but well, you're getting the brightness and you're getting the color, so let's talk about it. Brightness here is awesome, way outperforming the 350 nit rating, actually hitting over 430 nits of brightness in SDR. If you're into bright monitors or you typically game in a bright room, maybe the sun comes in at the end of the day, this is a great brightness. It also adds the vibrancy and just the overall beauty of the panel. Now, colors here are also really good, covering 92% of the DCI-P3 color space. While it's not a crazy coverage of the wider DCI-P3 color space, it does give you that extra amount of colors in HDR. Very, very pretty for the price. Now, HDR performance here, while it's not groundbreaking, as this doesn't have things like local dimming and crazy other things like that, for an IPS panel at this price point, the HDR is actually quite good. A lot of you may enjoy this, especially if you do want to take advantage of that wider color gamut. Overall, this is my most recommended budget 1440p gaming monitor. Serious value that you can actually find in stock. But with that, let's move on to the $300 to the $450 price range, and that monitor is the Dell S3422DWG. This is now a 34-inch ultrawide. Now, if you're thinking 34 inches, well, a 34-inch ultrawide is a 27-inch panel with some extra pixels, some extraness on the left and right. This is a 21:9 aspect ratio, still keeping that 1440p resolution. It's 3440 by 1440p, so it's just a stretched version, adding extra pixels on the left and right for that 1440p resolution. Now here you get 144 Hertz. You get FreeSync Premium Pro, which allows you to have variable refresh rate on with HDR, which is very cool. Also, this is NVIDIA certified G-Sync compatible, so it works flawlessly with NVIDIA cards. This is a huge pro. Now, this is a VA panel. However, there's a ton of these 34-inch ultrawides that are VA panels, and I tested essentially all of them. And after testing all of them, this was the clear winner across the board. No ghosting here, even being a VA panel, is the best you're going to find, being very unintrusive. Now, while there still is smearing, it's very, very little for a VA panel, and the overall gaming experience is very enjoyable. Now, there is no replacement for ultrawides, not only offering a competitive advantage to most games while allowing you to see enemies literally sooner without having a crazy POV, but the immersion you get from a 21:9 aspect ratio, well, it is so amazing. And I still see people talking about, well, not all games support the 21:9 resolution. Of all the games that I play, a very wide array, maybe once or twice, I've ran into some arcade style games, some 2D arcade style games that don't fit that 21:9 aspect ratio. So basically every single game that comes out and every single game that's pretty much out there is gonna fit that 21:9 aspect ratio. So if that's your concern, like, oh, this game's not going to actually show 21:9, it's going to. Ultra-wide master race, baby. Now, brightness here in SDR is good, hitting around 350 to 360 nits, which is good. However, let's say you want a lot more brightness, well, there's a fix for that. In HDR, this thing does a whopping 520 nits after testing, which is really freaking impressive. If you feel like you're lacking the vibrancy and brightness that you want in SDR, well, throwing this thing in HDR is definitely a solution. Now, this doesn't have a crazy wide color gamut. This only covers 90% of the DCI-P3 color space. However, you gotta remember, ultra wide, slightly curved, all the other specs here, this is a really competitive price point and doesn't have that ultra wide tax that a lot of people talk about. Overall, this is the best budget ultra wide you can buy, period. Full stop. But with that, let's move on to the $450 to $550 price point, and this is the Cooler Master Tempest GP27Q, having a 27-inch screen size, obviously 1440p resolution. This hits 165 Hertz and has FreeSync, and after a firmware update of many months ago at this point, this allows you to have variable refresh rate on with HDR, which is something you really are going to want to do. This also works well with NVIDIA cards, as you expect. Now, this is an IPS panel. However, the big thing here is that this is a mini LED lit panel, giving you 576 zones of local dimming, making this have super deep inky blacks. If you're thinking, oh, is it like a VA panel? No, this is way closer to an OLED than it is a VA panel. This gives you really deep inky blacks. Not quite as perfect as an OLED, but on the flip side, you have no chance of burn-ins. You can legitimately buy this and keep this for 10 years. They're so reliable. Now, gaming on this, especially in games like Forza Horizon 5, Fortnite, Red Dead Redemption, Battlefield, and Halo 5 look absolutely stunning on this. If you're into playing games that you really want to look beautiful and not just grind in, this monitor is definitely for you. It is unbelievably beautiful. It may be the cheapest price tag for the amount of, well, beauty in the monitor. Now, ghosting here, being an IPS panel, is extraordinarily low. Smearing is basically not noticeable. Also having the best, essentially onboard local ghosting tuning in the menu system on this. unbelievably good. You have steps from 0 to 100 in 1-step increments. So you literally have 100 different ghosting tuning points. So you can literally pinpoint exactly where the best ghosting to overshoot is. Now, if you're thinking, oh my God, that's so difficult, just pull up the UFO test, slide the slider up and down, look at it, and whatever you find will be the best one. I think they also do have some presets, so that shouldn't like scare you if you're like, I can't do that. Now, the brightness here was tested at a massive 530 nits of brightness in SDR. However, in SDR, turning the local dimming on pushes this thing over 1100 nits of brightness, which is absolutely insane. That's very, very bright, brighter than you're probably gonna want it. The brightness here is really made for the HDR, as this is where the monitor really shines. Literally. I would literally just leave this monitor in HDR all the time. The colors here are fantastic, covering 98% of the DCI-P3 color space thanks to a quantum dot layer in this panel. Stunningly beautiful colors. And that's the big thing with this monitor. Obviously, you're not getting 240 hertz and things like that, but if you want one of the most beautiful panels in the game, you want those super deep blacks, but you don't want to pay a huge price tag for it. This is literally like one of those standout monitors. Not many people know about it. It's not crazy big, but well, it should be, because it's unreal how good this is. Overall, if you want one of the best, most beautiful 1440p gaming monitors that it has an OLED-like black levels, stunning colors, amazing HDR, while managing not having any risk of burn-in due to being an IPS panel, well, this is a fantastic pickup. But with that, let's move on to the $550 to $650 price category, and this is the Alienware AW2723DF. Now this hits 240 hertz natively and has a factory overclock up to 280 hertz. So now we're moving more into the, okay, you're a fast-paced FPS gamer. We're talking Warzone, Fortnite, Valorant, all of that stuff. You want a faster gaming experience, you're a fast-paced gamer, this is something you're gonna wanna look at now. This has got FreeSync Premium Pro, which again means variable refresh rate with HDR on. This is also NVIDIA certified G-Sync compatible, so it works flawlessly there. Now this is a nano IPS panel, and ghosting here, as you would expect from a more esports centered gaming monitor, is extraordinarily low with very, very, very minor smearing. Really impressively low. Only a trained eye here will see ghosting. Overall, for a competitive gaming 1440p monitor, this is a really, really enjoyable gaming experience for games like Warzone 2, Battlefield, Fortnite, Overwatch, Valorant, all those games. That's what I'm talking about. However, the interesting thing here is that you're not just getting an esports gaming monitor, you're actually getting something that, one, you can use every single day for any task that's not gaming, and two, something that's actually pretty. So let's talk about that. Brightness is no slouch here, hitting 580 nits in SDR, which is very, very bright. That's incredibly impressive for an esports-centered gaming monitor. Colors are also really, really good here, covering 95% of the DCI-P3 color space, making this a bright and vibrant panel, especially in HDR. This makes for a competitive ready panel that can still manage to look vibrant and beautiful in games. So if you want to go do some HDR gaming in Red Dead, and then switch over into Warzone, go full competitive, all out, there you go. This is the monitor that can kind of do it all. Overall, if you want a more competitive focused refresh rate, but don't want to lose that image quality, this is a great choice. But with that, let's move on to the $650 to $750 price range. This is the LG Ultragear 32GQ850-B. Now, this is incredibly similar to the previous monitor. However, it gives you 32 inches now, also boasting a 1440p resolution. This hits up to 260 hertz with a factory overclock. This has FreeSync Premium Pro and is NVIDIA certified G-Sync compatible, which means HDR and variable refresh rate on at the same time. Very similar to the previous one, but again, if you want that larger screen size and, well, LG menu system, that's a big deal for me. Yeah, this is definitely where it's at. This is an IPS panel, and because of that, ghosting is extraordinarily low. You can see from the B-roll just how good it is. This is incredibly low. So great for those very, very fast-paced games. Brightness is also really good here, hitting around 450 nits in SDR and around 510 nits in HDR. That's full screen brightness. Color coverage is also great here, covering 98% of the DCI-P3 color space and being very well calibrated from the factory. Now this again gets the best of both worlds, not only being nice and bright and pretty due to the color coverage, but it has a larger size of 32 inches, but also performs well for gaming in competitive games due to and 260 Hz and very low input lag. Whether you want to play Warzone 2 or just watch the sunset in Red Dead Redemption 2, this pretty much do it all, and do it all in that bigger 32-inch screen size. Overall, if you want a 240 Hz plus monitor that is 32 inches but doesn't skip on the beauty of the image, well, this is it. But with that, let's move on to the $750 to $1,000 price range. This is the LG Ultragear 34GP83AB. This is again a 34-inch ultrawide with a 21:9 aspect ratio, again having that 3440 by 1440p resolution. Now this is 160 Hz with a factory overclock. This has FreeSync Premium and is NVIDIA certified G-Sync. This is a nano IPS panel with again a slight curve, as all 34-inch ultrawides should have. Now, as you would expect, ghosting here is unbelievably good, having basically no smearing. In game, this is a very, very competent monitor with ghosting. Gaming on this panel is awesome. Still the best ultrawide you can buy under $1,000 and has been since it came out. This still sits on one of my main desks as one of my main monitors that I actually use for editing. And then when I'm not editing, well, I use it for gaming, and it's just so good. In SDR, this is capable of hitting 500 nits of brightness in SDR, although pretty typically you're gonna get around 400 nits of brightness. Now colors here are great, covering 98% of the DCI-P3 color space, making a beautiful gaming experience paired with a slight curve and great brightness. And then the ultra wideness, such an immersive, beautiful gaming experience. Due to the ghosting and very low input lag for the refresh rate, I've gamed with faster paced games like Warzone and Battlefield very well, partially due to the literal competitive advantage that an ultrawide gives, but this is also an extremely enjoyable gaming experience for slower, prettier games, such as like Red Dead. Overall, if you want the best 1440p 34-inch ultrawide under $1,000, this is hands down it. But with that, let's move on to the $1,000 to $1,500 price point, and I think you guys know what it's gonna be. This is the Alienware AW3423DW. This hits 175 Hz. This has G-Sync Ultimate, which is epic. You can also get another version of this monitor that has FreeSync Premium rather than just having G-Sync. This is an OLED, not just an OLED, but a QD OLED. The QD just means quantum dot, increasing that color gamut. Ghosting here is just about as perfect as you can get, literally being crystal clear. There is zero ghosting, essentially, because it is an OLED and has almost immediate pixel response times. Gaming on this monitor is absolutely insane. Even with fast-paced games without having a super high refresh rate, well, it's really, really good. Brightness hits around 280 nits in SDR after testing, but in HDR is where this really comes alive, hitting around 480 nits plus in the full screen brightness. Very small highlights will get as bright as 1,000 nits. However, most of the time, just keep this thing in HDR. It's definitely worth it. Colors are great here, covering a massive 99.3% of the DCI-P3 color space and is absolutely stunning in HDR. Truly gorgeous colors. This is one of the most beautiful image quality on the list. Now this does come with a chance of burn-in, and it does have some text clarity issues in Windows. However, if you're looking for one of the best gaming experiences in 1440p, well, this is unreal. So overall, if you want the best ultrawide experience and the best black levels and colors, well, this is it. Again, if you want to check out any of the monitors in this video, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. But yeah, all these monitors are amazing in every price range. Those would be my picks. These are all the monitors that I would personally buy if I was looking in these different price ranges. All of these are awesome, awesome monitors. Also, it was a top 5 plus 3 because top 8 just doesn't, it's just no one wants to watch a top 8. It's either gonna be a top 5 or it's gonna be a top 10. And I didn't want to go to like $3,000. Who's gonna buy a $3,000 monitor, man? All right, so yeah, it's a top 5 plus 3. Whatever. All right, this is Conservative Review. See you guys in the next video.